Hey everyone, welcome back to the channel. Today we're going to dive into the creation of Chapter 3, Planet Colidor. But before we jump in, don't forget to subscribe to the channel so you don't miss future devlogs. And if you want even more behind the scenes updates, make sure to join the Discord server. The link is in the description below. Now in this episode, I'll talk about how I created the unique look and feel of Planet Colidor, how I designed the crystals and shaped the path of the level, the work I've been doing on cinematics and characters like Merlin, improvements to the first-person cockpit camera, and a major rework of Chapter 2's Asteroid field, based on your feedback. Let's get started. Creating Planet Colidor was one of the most exciting parts of the remake so far, because it's the first time the game throws you into a new alien world that's not been featured in any of the movies. The original Rebel Assault showed Colidor as a canyon-filled planet with a strange, almost otherworldly sky. Not your typical blue, Earth-like atmosphere, but something that instantly told you this is not home. I wanted to capture that weirdness, so using Unreal's atmospheric tools, I shifted the sky color to something more alien, a muted, dusty tone that immediately sets the stage. That, combined with the volumetric clouds and fog, makes it feel heavy, as if the air itself is thicker, which really helps sell the idea of flying through a harsh, dangerous environment. For the canyon walls, I leaned on Megascan's volcano assets. They have a rough, jagged quality that worked perfectly to mimic the rocky corridors of the original game. By carefully placing these assets, I was able to create towering canyon walls that feel massive, enclosing, and dangerous while still keeping them optimized for performance. Of course, the real stars of this level are the crystals. These are the obstacles that define Chapter 3. When I first looked at the cinematics of the original game, I thought the crystals were meant to be transparent, which honestly had me worried. Why? Because transparency is expensive. Rendering dozens, let alone hundreds of transparent crystal meshes on screen would eat performance alive, especially with modern lighting systems like Lumen. On top of that, transparent materials are tricky when it comes to depth sorting. Things often look wonky when layered over each other, and there's always a visual bug somewhere. But then I dug deeper. Some of the cover art for the original Rebel Assault showed the crystals with more of a grayish, reflective look. That gave me an out. Instead of going full transparency, I decided to go for a gold-like reflective rock material. Not only was this far more performance-friendly, but it actually created a really striking contrast. Golden crystals jutting out of the dark volcanic gray rock. The result looks great in motion. The crystals shimmer under the canyon lighting without destroying performance. I created 4 variants of the crystals, each with slightly different shapes. Then I used a mix of Unreal's procedural content generation tools and manual placement to scatter them across the environment. For the main flying path, I went in by hand, testing turn after turn to make sure every section flowed well. Now let's talk about gameplay. The original level in Rebel Assault was honestly pretty simple, a straight canyon with crystals here and there. The challenge came mostly from the clunky controls of the original, but in the remake, since the controls are smooth and responsive, I wanted the environment itself to present the challenge. So I made the level longer and more varied. It starts in a wider, more open canyon, easing players in. Then, halfway through, you dive into a dark cave section, where the crystals are harder to see and the walls close in. Finally, the level ramps up to a series of twisting, turning corridors, where reaction time is everything. Difficulty also plays a role here. On easy, the crystal formations are spaced out, and Commander Merlin takes a simpler path. On insane, things get much more chaotic. Crystals are denser, the path is tighter, and Rue weaves in and out of obstacles in ways that force you to really push your piloting skills. The result is a level that grows with the player's ability, staying fun and accessible on easy while becoming a serious challenge on the higher difficulties. In this chapter, we meet Merlin, the rebel pilot who introduces you to Colidor and plays an essential role in both Rebel Assault games. I want to dive deeper into the characters and cinematics in a future video because there's a lot to talk about, but I'll give you a quick overview here. I'm using Unreal Engine's metahumans for the characters, which gives me an incredibly strong starting point for realism and detail. For facial animations, I've been experimenting with Live Link, which lets me capture subtle expressions and map them directly to the characters. It's still a work in progress, but it's already making the cutscenes feel much more alive. Merlin's introduction is brief in this chapter, but it's an important one. She's the pilot who leads you through the canyon, and I wanted her presence to feel believable and grounded, setting the stage for more story moments later. A lot of you suggested in the gameplay video that Merlin should talk to you more over the radio as you fly through the canyon, giving warnings, encouragement, and mission chatter, and I completely agree. It's a fantastic idea, and I'm planning to implement that soon. Next up, let's talk about the first-person cockpit camera. In the last devlog, I talked a lot about the A-Wing's handling in third person, but I also wanted to give players the option to fly in first person, right inside the cockpit. This took a lot of tweaking. At first, the camera felt too stiff, locked directly to the ship, which didn't feel immersive, so I added two key elements. The first is camera shake. Just like the third-person camera, the cockpit now shakes and rattles slightly as you fly. It's subtle, but it makes the ship feel alive, like it's being buffeted by the environment. Then there's camera lag. The cockpit camera has a slight delay when the ship moves, so it feels like it's floating, not bolted directly to the hull. This adds weight and realism to the movement. The result is a cockpit view that feels immersive without being distracting. Players can switch between first and third person at any time, and for those who prefer to stick with one, there's an option in the settings menu to set a default view. That way, you can just jump into the game and focus on flying without having to think about it. Now let's circle back to Chapter 2 for a moment. One thing I always emphasize is that I take your comments seriously. After the last devlog, one piece of feedback I saw over and over again was that the asteroid field felt too dense. So I went back and redid it. The asteroid field is now much closer to the size and layout of the original Rebel assault. The open spaces between rocks are larger, and the overall scale feels more balanced. Visibility has also improved a ton. In the first version, I had disabled shadows on the asteroids, because the field became almost pitch black due to the amount of shadow casting asteroids. Not a great look. Now, shadows are back on. Asteroids cast realistic shadows without overwhelming the scene. On top of that, I added headlights to the A-wing which illuminate the space directly in front of you. It's a small touch, but it makes a huge difference when flying through dark areas. Gameplay-wise, not much has changed. Once you're inside the field, the number of moving asteroids remains about the same. They're fully physics-driven, constantly colliding and bouncing off each other, which keeps the action chaotic and the challenge every bit as intense. But now, with better spacing, improved lighting, and much clearer visibility, the level feels more fun and less frustrating. And that's going to wrap up Devlog 3. Thanks so much for sticking around until the end of the video. Your support really means a lot. If you haven't already, subscribe to the channel so you don't miss future devlogs. And if you want even more frequent updates and a place to give feedback, definitely join the Discord server. The link's down in the description. I'll see you in the next one.